And now we are getting ready to go to live on YouTube. All right. Hi, and welcome to the next webinar in our Plantae webinar series. My name is Jason Padilla, and I'm your technical host for today's webinar. Thank you all for joining us this lovely day. Hopefully, it's lovely where you are. Next slide. Next slide. This webinar series is brought to you today by Plantae, the open online community for plant scientists powered by the American Society of Plant Biologists. I would like to give a special thank you to all our ASPB members who are attending today. Your ASPB membership dues help make this webinar possible. For any of you who have not yet joined ASPB, you can join today and use the discount code %10 to receive a 10% discount on your registration. ASPB members get early access to these amazing webinars, and you can learn more about ASPB and the opportunities we provide at aspb.org. Next slide. In addition, please be sure to check out our YouTube channel. Our Plantae YouTube channel has plenty of the past webinar, and there's so many exciting talks that we've done so far, and so be sure to check it out and see what other amazing webinars we've shared in our community. Next slide. Before we get started, I'd like to go over a few housekeeping items to make sure that you get the most out of attending today's webinar. If you are experiencing technical difficulties, please let us know about those using the chat box, or you can email me directly at jpadilla@aspb.org. If you have questions for our guest speaker, please add them to the Zoom Q&A section. Our moderator will be sharing them with our presenter, and so we'll definitely have the time to address those questions. So definitely pay attention to the webinar and ask questions to our speakers. If you have trouble connecting or need to leave the webinar early, and know that the webinar is this webinar specifically is recorded and will be made available again in the Plantae YouTube channel. Be sure to follow our YouTube channel to receive notification when new content is posted. All right, now I'm going to turn it over to our moderator, who will facilitate to today's webinar session. Take it away, Andrea and Idabu.
Thank you so much for the introduction. So I'm really happy to today to be here with you guys. Thank you for all the people that sat down and webinar. So I'm really happy to be part of this webinar today, because today we are going to talk about how to use the next generation of scientists. So our speakers today is the Dr. Sophien Kamoun from I'm going to leave the stage.
Yeah, Idabu, if you sorry, Andrea, your audio
yes,
echo a little bit.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So thank you for joining us all. Together with me as moderator is Andrea, and I am Ido. We'll be moderating today's webinar on building up the next generation of scientists. And we have fascinating speakers to talk to you on that. The first speaker is Abimbola Owoseni, who is a full professor of microbiology at Bowen University in Nigeria, and also Sophien Kamoun, who is a professor at the Salisbury Laboratory, Norwich in United Kingdom. The next slide, please. Okay, so the outline of the webinar will be, okay, the first speaker will be taking us on building up next generation of scientists. And the first speaker with me is Dr. Abimbola Owoseni, who is a professor of microbiology in Bowen University, Nigeria in Africa. Her expertise lies in the fascinating world of bacterial enzymes and combating antibiotic resistance through indigenous knowledge. Dr. Abimbola has played an integral role in inspiring young minds to pursue career in science, of which I am one of them. She will be sharing her journey and strategies which she believes are essential for nurturing the curiosity and potential of aspiring scientists. So, he is also the Vice Provost of College of Agriculture, Engineering and Science of the same university and passionate about women participation in STEM. Next slide, please. Okay, so over to Abimbola Owoseni.
Okay. So good afternoon. I think Andrea needs to stop sharing so that I can share now. Okay, thank you. Good afternoon. As Idowu has rightly introduced me, I'm a microbiologist by training, but a scientist, a passionate scientist, if I can say that. And I must say that I appreciate the fact that I've been invited. I count it a privilege for this to be invited to be one of the people that would speak today. Let me just quickly go to my slide, and as I present my slide, I'll keep on talking on my own experience as a scientist. So I've been asked to speak on building up the next generation of scientists. I've been introduced, I don't think I need to say much again. I just felt that I should put a few information on science and technology. We have said that science explores new knowledge methodically through observation and experimentation. So as a scientist, you must have methods, you observe, you carry out experiments, and then you get your results. Then for technology, it's the application of scientific knowledge to various practical purposes. So when we're talking about science, the technology should come after, and that's what actually encourages and excites scientists. It's not just about being in the lab and just doing this. You should be able to apply your results. And when you see the application, it becomes very, very exciting. We are talking about building up next generation of scientists. I've had students that, when we have a project topic, many of them are just there. But by the time we carry out the experiments, and then I try as much as possible to ask them to put an application at the end of the experimentation. And when they see the applications, they're always excited. Oh, so this is not just, just a lab work. I know that by the time we finish this, our eyes will open the more on this. So I said, development of human society relies on continuous progress of science and technology. Without science, human society cannot develop. And science and technology nowadays, together with intellectual resources, have been decisive factors for economic growth. We know countries that have been able to work on COVID-19 vaccines. At the end of the day, their economy will be better than before they started the vaccines. And social development and economics have created and improved more favorable conditions for scientific technology and technological progress. Now, I thought to bring out some of these old scientists and when they actually came out into the limelight. And we'll see that Charles Darwin, there's no science student that would tell me they don't know who Charles Darwin is. And it's been said that he was just 22 years old, you know, when he sailed around the world. Isaac Newton, Gottfried Leibniz, they were young, very young, when they developed the theory of infinitesimal calculus. Thomas Edison, we know who he is. He was just 30 when the phonograph was invented. And our own very special Albert Einstein was just 26 when he came up with this special theory of relativity. Even at 40, heliocentric theory was developed and proposed by Nicholas Copernicus. So a lot of people have been able to do a lot of things while they were young. So I said, how do we cultivate curiosity? Because I think that's a major problem nowadays. So science, technology, engineering, and mathematics curriculum should start from primary school through secondary school, and many times before we get to university. You know, while searching for this, this presentation, I came across a lot of changes in curricula from schools, primary schools, even in the United States, you know, where they thought that they should start introducing these kids to STEM from primary school, taking them out, asking them to play in the sandbox. You know, when they put their hands in sand, you tell them, so what's going to be on your hands? And they tell you germs. You know, that's little ways of introducing them to STEM. And I said, introductory classes should not push students away from STEM courses, but our introductory classes should bring out critical thinking. Just as I said, when you ask kids, what's on your hands? They say germs. And then you say, what are those germs? Then that's why you hear bacteria, you hear viruses, you know, those are little things that they begin to think out themselves. Problem solving, engaged learning, and knowledge retention for all students, whether they want to be in STEM or not. Science as a way of helping to building up our reasoning. So we should expose children to this STEM field. And then I said, effective STEM teaching is crucial so that we can develop science literate population. That's why I said, even if they're going to go into business later, even if they're going into history later, there's nothing stopping them from being science literate individuals. And this is going to help to explain our complex and interdisciplinary health, energy, and environmental challenges of our time. You know, that there's a research going on in my university. We have a lot of bats flying in the campus. They are fruit bats. The species in particular is Eidolon. The genus is Eidolon. And our senior research people here thought that, look, you have bats. Why not start working on it? Initially, people felt, oh, that's for the scientists. It's for the microbiologists. It's for the zoologists. But, you know, at the end of the day, we have sociologists. We have people in religion. We have people in English language, English literature that have published papers, you know, just on these bats. So that's why I said we should do it. We should expose everybody. And, you know, research nowadays has become interdisciplinary. So you can't say because this topic is scientific, it's just going to be for science people. So I put something here. I said, this just tells us the journey of students. And this was taken from Bradford and Miller 2015. And it talks about University of California, Davis. Now, the column on my left is that student starting in 2007 and their outcome in 2013. Look at agriculture. A good percentage of those that were in agriculture graduated as agriculture graduates. Look at biology. Look at how big it is starting. Look at how many finished. So that means, and look at part of the biology, look at those that went to social science, you know, that graduated as social scientists. So look at engineering. Look at the number of engineering graduates at the end of the day. I hope you understand what I'm saying. Look at math and science. You can math and physical, see how math and physical science splits at the end of the day. So obviously there's an issue. Many that start out do not finish. and we need to look at what we need to do. So I said part of the skills that we need to learn are the 21st century skills, creative or critical thinking. I've mentioned that. We start that from when they are young. Collaboration. Collaboration improves research. And collaboration also makes even us scientists, it makes us see that you are not alone. Even if you continue here, you can diversify and still remain, in your science. Problem solving, that's what we do. That's what we are meant to do. And the skills that's meant to be taught. How do we solve problems? Communication, a lot of scientists can't talk. They can't speak. They don't even know how to express themselves. Flexibility, leadership, initiative, social skills, motivation, persistence, all of these things need to be taught. I had a friend that went to the US, I think it was Texas A&M, and she said she met a guy who was on his PhD in chemistry. After 3 years, the guy said he was leaving, he was going to stop. And she said, look, you have just about a year left. But the guy said he was tired and left. So persistence is a skill that we need to teach. And I said teaching should be fostered through well-designed courses. And, definitely when our students develop these skills, they're able to master and retain knowledge. And it's going to, to curb the alarming rate at which students lose interest. It's going to stop the alarming rate at which they just, at the end of the day, they just disappear. So I thought we need to talk about our work environment. So I said a healthy research environment is crucial for the development of young scientists. Our PIs, our mentors, our supervisors need to understand that young scientists need a healthy working environment. Our mental health goes a long way, Then funding, when your lab, when we have funding, it becomes very easy to work. I said specific programs. I don't like people doing here and there. If you are specific, face it, you can get collaborators, but they know you for what you do. And then I said collaborative networks. That also makes work very, very interesting. This is going to support the independence and fulfill scientific ambitions of young scientists. Then I said innovation is a vital driving force for the development of science and technology. And this requires substantial investment of time and efforts. For you to become an innovator, it doesn't happen in one day. We all know the story of Thomas Edison. It did not happen once. It did not happen twice. We know how many times it went on before it became that. But the problem that we have in academia today, publish or perish, that you have to publish. This is often used for promotions and funding. And, it can make young scientists to be tempted to just by the low-hanging fruit of, look, I'm going to publish, let me just do this. What I think that does is that it does not allow long-term development of research topics. You can do a research topic that will last you 2, 3, 4 years, but because you want to publish, and because if you don't publish, you won't get promoted. You just do something a few months, not too much in depth, you publish it. And then if you notice, look at us, look at the world, the science world during the COVID time. People were just finding out a little thing, they publish it. After 3 months, there's a rebuttal. After 3 months, they just they retrieve what they have published and say, look, we have realized that the methodology that we used was not right. I don't think that should be encouraged. So I said we need to establish decent and equitable evaluation of what we do. So I said, what do the next generation of scientists, what should they do? What do we need to do? And I said, what did I do? What were the things that helped me? So the first one is that I said, be passionate. Be passionate. Listen to your heart. Choose your research field wisely. What we talk about now is that you need to work on a trending topic. And if you don't work on trending topics, sometimes you don't get funding. But I believe that if you persist on a particular field, at the end, it might take time. But if you are passionate about it, at the end of the day, you will not definitely be a loser for it. So it's passion that helps you to explore the unknown. It's passion that keeps you going, even when when you're not getting what you want. At a point, you just hit the jackpot, and that's all you need. Then I said, make the impossible possible. Make the impossible possible. So we as young scientists, we need to encourage them to tackle some of the big problems that we're facing right now. That's emerging infectious diseases, renewable energy, climate change, deep space exploration. Let's not stay with what we are familiar with. Let's look at what seems to be impossible, and let's try to see what we can do. So I said, be skeptical. Being skeptical is just that try to be bold, and then you don't believe everything you see. You have to be meticulous to verify anything that you see. As a young scientist, because a senior person wrote this does not mean that it's totally correct. You need to verify. Your bold assumptions can serve as breeding ground for ideas, but you can't just conclude because somebody has said that is what to be done. So I said, be liberal, non-conventional. To be an excellent scientist, you must possess a wide array of knowledge and a broad vision, of the history of science. And this now brings about the interdisciplinary approach to research. Just as I said, for bats research, we have people in communication and all of that. So it has really helped us. Then I said, be diligent. When you are diligent, you find out that even places where you don't expect to be, you find yourself there. I said it's a common characteristic of successful scientists, being diligent. You have to work. It's not only true for academics, but goes for professionals throughout history. Nothing prospers without labor. You have to invest before you get your results. So I said, be a team player. You can't do it alone. Nobody's an island. So I said, a strong teamwork is another key to success, because no matter how intelligent you may be, your scope of knowledge is limited. When you work in a team, you have maybe somebody in statistics that is in your team. That helps. It helps your statistical analysis and things the relevance of your work. Then I said, listen and think critically. You need to communicate. You need to seek advice from more senior researchers. Just as I said, that's being a team player. You need someone that knows a bit more than you do, and then they can help you. And I said, we should also must maintain a sense of autonomy. You don't allow, that will allow you to continue to think outside the box. You can't just stay as you are. You need to think outside the box. So I said, what are the needs? What needs to be done? And I said, my emphasis is on low and medium income countries. I'm from Nigeria, and this is an issue, with my people here. So I said, we need to expose our young scientists through fellowships, conferences, training opportunities, and so on in their specific areas of interest. I realized that students that go for conferences, even from their first year in university, it exposes them to look, to results of research that are being carried out. It also makes them see that they are not alone. We are not just in my university, we're in a world, of scientists. Then they have fellowships, it exposes them the more, particularly if you're looking at low and medium income countries where we don't have, where there isn't so much, money to get sophisticated equipment. If they get fellowship, 3 months, 6 months, even 2 months sometimes, it exposes them, and it also piques their interest. Then training opportunities, workshops, and all of that goes a long way. And I said it can be organized by industry in collaboration with university. I was able to find out one that is on between Novartis and the University of Basel. And they have a cohort of about 20 to 25 fellowships in a year. And this helps researchers from LMICs to go to Novartis. No, they go to University of Basel. It's sponsored by Novartis. And, you know, some of them, they take part of their PhD work, take it there. The things that they are not able to do in their home universities, they carry it out at the University of Basel. And, you know, it goes a long way. And then specific areas of interest for trainees should be such that the scientists at the end of training will be able to use that knowledge and practice back home. Many of us, should I say that many people from LMICs don't want to come back home because what they have been taught, what they're exposed to, can't be replicated at home. So that's why I said that means funding for equipment should or could be included as part of the return package. You know, if there's a particular equipment that they worked with, if there's funding for them to get something like that to bring it back home, definitely becomes easier for them to replicate all those things that they have learned at home. And then it now helps with the kind of research that they too will carry out. So as I said, the length of time might not be even up to 6 months. 2 months, 3 months, 4 months sometimes goes a long way. And then, you know, it will also be nice if the mentors in their home universities are able to also build capacity. You know, that helps a lot. So I said in conclusion, I hope I've not overspent my time. In conclusion, our next generation of scientists, they are the future of science and technology. So we need to support them so that we can maximize their full potential in a complex and important issues. The society at large has also started to pay attention because of the importance. Science and technology and our society are continuously developing. So we should attune our strategy and policies to meet the challenges of the day. I also feel that closer engagement with the home mentors and institutions might represent a component of a solution. You know, I said this would be coupled with enriched and a very vibrant post-fellowship activities. And finally, opportunities for strengthening research. When students return to their home countries, will reduce the problem of brain drain. I'm sure that's not strange to us. We have that problem in LMICs. And so if they're able, you know, to come home and are able to replicate many of the things that they're exposed to, it doesn't have to be all. They won't want to just leave their country and go. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity, and thank you for listening.
Thank you, Dr. Owoseni, for the wonderful session. We appreciate the time with you, and thank you for the great talk. So we'll have time for some questions from the audience. Please, if you have questions, kindly drop at the comment section while we take them. Okay. So questions from the audience. Okay, I think most of the questions have been answered. Yes, no. For those who requested for a certificate of attendance, Jason will attend to that. So while we are waiting questions, Andrea.
There's someone.
Okay. Okay, yes, thank you. Someone have a question? Please ask. Please, you can type your question in the chat box.
I see Raisa Fon, feel free to type your question in the chat at this point. And then for any of you who have questions, feel free to do so as well. And then as Ida will mention, and as I mentioned, we will be providing certificate of attendance for attending today, and you'll receive instructions for that after the webinar. But yeah, let's see. Raisa, if you want to go ahead and type your questions. And for everyone else, no need to raise your hand, just type your question in the chat, please.
Okay, so yes, we have the first question from Raisa. Please, how do I build the collaboration? at their sites where we can get scientific conferences to attend? Yes.
Yes, there are sites to get scientific conferences to attend. And if you have, in fact, if you have submitted abstracts and your abstracts are accepted, sometimes they fund. In fact, many times they fund. I have colleagues that have gone to Canada from Nigeria for free. Well, free, someone paid for it, but they didn't need to pay so much. Keystone conferences is one. Keystone conferences, you can search for that. Then as scientists, I also encourage that we join societies, that have interest in the research that we carry out. I am a member of Applied Microbiology International. It's based in the UK. We have ASBI, Association of Plants. Did I get that right? The Plantae group, the Plantae host, they're also an association. There's American Society of Microbiology. There's so many associations, the Association of Biotechnologists, and there's another one. I'm more familiar with the UK than the US. But when you join these associations, and many times if you join as students, by the time you do probably the first subscription, you pay the second subscription, you have the opportunity to be funded. If you have papers submitted for their annual conference, you could, if it's accepted, you could be sponsored to attend such conferences. Sometimes as students, if you have submitted your papers to another conference, sometimes they also sponsor you to attend such conferences. My students have been able to do that. One of my PhD students went to Amsterdam. Another one, as I said, went to Canada. I have one that we're working on now that's probably going to Ghana, and all of them are paid. Myself, when I was growing up, growing up in the job, I enjoyed a lot of travel grants, and this encouraged my attendance at conferences. I can't remember the second question.
Okay, the second question is, you've answered that. Where can I get scientific conferences?
Yes. Okay, the first question.
Yes, and that's also the second question. How do I get collaboration? How do I build collaboration?
Oh, okay. You can build collaboration depending on what you work on. You can meet senior researchers. They help, they can collab, they can lead you, or expose you to different areas where you can collaborate. But I've also been opportune to meet a lot of people at these conferences. A colleague of mine, at that time, I had defended my PhD. She just started her PhD and she needed somewhere to do some things. We went to Dublin that year, and at Dublin, we met a professor that came from Ohio State University. He said he had funding, he had space in his lab, that if she could sponsor herself to the US, she could come and stay for 6 months. And that was how she was able to complete her PhD work. So even at conferences, you can get collaborators. Sometimes read papers. When you read journals and somebody is working in your area, send them an email. You never can tell. They might have space, they might have funding, and they don't have students, and they can take you on. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Abimbola. We still have a couple of some questions here from Paulo. He agreed with attending conferences, but he said, but sometimes it is difficult for us as scientists in developing countries to get funds. How do you propose to tackle that? I don't know if that has been answered, or do you still have something to say to that? We have more questions.
Let me just say that. Thank you. Thank God you are from a developing country. And even if you are from a developed country, when you write for grants, it's not all grants that you write that get funded. Maybe you should just put your mind at, if you write 10, maybe 1 or 2 might be funded, and then start small. I advise my students, start small. If you get £3,000 grant, that's a lot of money. when you convert it to Naira, and it's going to help you to go a long way. If you get £5,000, $5,000, you start from somewhere, and that's how you build your CV. If you get a $5,000 grant and you used it properly, when you're applying for a $10,000 grant, you write it there that you got a $5,000 grant, and this was what you used it for. It builds your integrity. You don't start with 100,000. Well, I'm not saying it's impossible, but I just feel that it's nicer and easier when you choose to climb the ladder gradually. Those that I know, that my own mentors that have how do I say it, $100,000, $150,000 grants over a period of maybe 2 years, they didn't start with 100,000. They started small, and they are not doing badly.
Thank you, Dr. Owoseni. Some have asked some questions about how to get funding, and thanks to one anonymous attendee about the New Phytologist Foundation giving grant travel for their symposia. The link is in the chat box. And then the next question, another anonymous attendee says, where can scientists from Europe, because you mentioned University of Basel, where could they work on site, for example, in Nigeria? I don't know if I got the question correctly. Are there programs in Africa available? There scientists from Europe, okay. Do you think there are programs in Nigeria where scientists from Europe could work in a place like Africa?
Well, there are two sides to that. Could work doesn't mean that you need somewhere that you just want a lab space that you can work. I doubt if any university you write will say no. I doubt it. Particularly if you're a bit experienced, people want exposure. If you're coming from Europe to Africa, the mentality is you have been more exposed than we are. So I don't think any university will say no. You can speak with Idowu, and I'm sure even in my university, I doubt people will say no, but maybe if we collaborate, if we meet and discuss, we can see what happens. Many times Africans want to go, many times it's the other way, because we know that there's a lot of grants and funding outside Africa. But the other question, I said, it depends if you want to just come and work. If you are bringing a grant, of course, I don't think any African university will say no to. If you want to work with people that have grants here, that might be a bit limited, because, we don't, as we said, countries, the LMIC countries don't get so much grants. But if it's something that you can do here, why not? Why not? I don't have a lot of grants, but I'm also very interested in research. So if I get someone that is interested in my area of work, why not? We can work together. And I believe that goes for other researchers in such areas too.
Thank you, Dr. Abimbola. We have so many good questions here, but of course, I'm just going to be touching questions as regarding building next generation of scientists. So if your question is not being read out loud, please do not be angry. There is one by Gabriel Robo Luna. It said, do you know of international programs to get funding to establish your lab in developing country as a junior researcher? I don't know if you'd like to answer that. Do you know of any?
I personally do not know, but as I mentioned, Applied Microbiology International, they have different grants. So that's why if you join an association, you might be lucky, to get grants to do that. I know they used to have, I've not checked the website lately, but I know they used to have a particular grant that is for equipping your lab, as in for culture collection. Yes. If you want to start a culture collection center in your university, they have a grant for that. So I think you might need to surf the web for a while, but it is not impossible. You can get, it's not impossible.
Thank you. Let's see if we have more questions. Okay. There are others. Well, I don't know if I should say this, that what should be the basis of evaluating? Okay, this question is asked by Panoshi Day. He said, what should be the basis of evaluation of a young scientist apart from publication? Thank you.
Well, on mute, okay. So for a young scientist, probably the amount of work could be used, how do I say it? Like the supervisor or a senior mentor or the PI, in that research could actually write a report, a progress report, or a report on how well the young scientist is doing. And not because, sometimes when you say a young scientist is publishing, is he the one actually, carrying out all the research? So that's why I said probably getting reports will start, then percentage of how do I say, of what they have done in a particular work can also be used. If some scientists are not publishing, might not be because they are not working, could be because the results from their research has not matured to a point where it's big enough or good enough to publish, but does not mean they're not working. I have a colleague who is a biologist, and many times, she does a lot of work, but sometimes because the results are not so, should I say, significant, it becomes very difficult to, even when you send it, editors send them back. So are you saying that that person has not worked? So maybe the amount of the efforts, by a senior colleague, a senior researcher, the PI, or the dean of the faculty could actually write a report, and that could be used as part of the evaluation process.
Thank you for the question. Thank you for the answers, Dr. Owoseni. Okay, the last question, this will be the last question by Dr. Shahab Hussein. We want your expert lecture. Okay, sorry. That I think you might have to message her directly. Social media account is being shared on the announcement for this webinar. So we really appreciate everyone's attendance at this webinar. We thank you for joining us. Andrea, my co-moderator, appreciate you. Do you have anything to say?
Yes, can you hear me better now?
Yes, we can hear you.
It's much better.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So yeah, we have some technical issues, and Dr. Kamoun cannot join us today. So, but hopefully we are going to have a recording video for his presentation. So yeah, thank you so much everybody to join us today, and thank you Jason and Idowu and Dr. Abimbola. So thank you for joining us and to accept our invitation. So it's really grateful to listen and some advices from you, from more experienced people. So I would like to add some points, some small points. So I think as a young scientist, we want to try to do the best, right? So, and sometimes we have to looking for other options and other opportunities. And not, I would like to tell everybody that we have to reach the PIs, we have to reach people abroad if we want to do any internship in other countries. So because sometimes the PIs don't post their open positions. So I'd advise you to write directly to them and to reach them, because sometimes they have money to fund in our traveling expenses. So that would be very helpful if we want to do networking in the future. So, and also try to be involved in all the scientific communication activities, because sometimes the conference give some travel grants that will help us to join to the conference, and or at least help us to assist the conference with a little bit of money, right? So, okay, thank you so much, everybody. And Jason, I don't know if you have something to tell.
Yeah, thank you again, everyone, for joining us. Again, we apologize, unfortunately, that Dr. Kamoun had to back out at the last minute. But we will work with him in getting a pre-recorded webinar that we'll share in the webinar blog, where you guys you'll receive an email on how to access the pre-recorded video. So again, thank you so much for joining us, and a very big special thank you to our Plantae Fellows who coordinated the webinar. But of course, a big thank you to our awesome speaker, Dr. Abimbola Owoseni, for her brilliance and great insight and sharing us a wonderful presentation. As we shared earlier, we will be posting the recorded version of this PowerPoint presentation, and hopefully that will include the pre-recorded video for Dr. Sophien Kamoun's presentation, who again, unfortunately, had to back out and unable to join us. And then, of course, for those of you who are in attendance, you will receive a follow-up email with instructions on how to receive a certificate. I saw that a few of you are in need of those, so you will get certificate and we'll get instructions on how to get that. But otherwise, thank you again for joining us, and we hope that we will see you on the next webinar. Have a great day, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your week. We'll catch you on the next one. Bye, everyone.
Bye.